Welcome to the 30-Minute Hour. It's the weekly podcast where we discuss business, sports, politics, and whatever's on our mind. I'm your host, Eric Twiggs, your procrastination prevention partner. Joining me as always is Ted Fells. He's the business strategist extraordinaire and all-around good guy.
See my Nats hat?
Go Nats. That's your...
That's it, Nats. What they like? They won 14 out of the last 18 games.
They're rolling.
But then one other reason I wore this hat.
Why's that?
Softball league started yesterday.
Oh, man.
Softball league, yeah, my fraternity softball season started, and we picked up right where we left off last season.
Taking some L's.
Taking some good L's.
Oh,
taking
man.
some good L's.
Sorry to hear that.
But we had a good time.
Yeah, sometimes that happens when you play the Qs. I know they.
No, we did not play the Qs.
Haven't played the Qs
that's
yet.
That's when we win. That's when we win.
You said that's a W on the schedule. Is that what you think?
That's when we win and we eat their barbecue. Right after, absolutely.
Okay. Well, also joining us is Britton Smith. Now he's the Renaissance man. He's the man who refuses to be pigeonholed.
Go Cubs, go.
Go Cubs, go. So we have the Nationals, we have the Cubs. At least we're keeping it in the National League,
absolutely.
making it a sports theme.
The division leading Cubs.
The division leading Cubs. Wow. Okay, well I think that with the role that the Nationals are on,
Oh yeah,
they may be up there.
be on this.
Absolutely. Okay. So I don't know if you could tell or not, but this is like a sports theme. We're talking about sports and business today on the 30-Minute Hour. And we're going to change up. By the way, this is not your everyday podcast. And to follow us, you need to go to Facebook. You can go to Instagram. You can go to YouTube. All you need to do is type in the 30-Minute Hour. And there we are. But once again, just to warn you, we're not your everyday podcast. We're going to shift gears a bit because I really want to get into everything that's transpired during this past weekend in the world of sports, especially with the NBA. And we've got a sports expert sitting over here by the business strategist. And I want to go ahead and introduce him. Let's get him into the fray. He has been in the financial services field for over 20 years. He served in the capacity of producer, senior advisor, and managing partner. And today he's the president and CEO of T3 Financial Group / Insurance Direct 123. Not only that, he is also the host of the popular podcast titled In Business, where they talk about business, sports, and whatever's on their mind, just like we do here.
Right.
Please join me in welcoming to the 30-Minute Hour, Terrell Sheppard.
I am glad to be here. Like I said, we got that's what I'm saying. I was like, wow, I'm coming to the 30-minute podcast and stuff. Y'all are the 30-minute hour.
That's
That
right.
alone threw me off right there. It's like 30 minutes an hour. It's so in depth to be with y'all. It's just unbelievable, Eric. Ted, Britt. I'm excited to be here. Glad to be about. I understand that my show, of course, WBGR comes on Thursdays from 1 to 2, so y'all can definitely check it out. I'll put it
Absolutely.
there.
Absolutely.
And where we talk about all things sports
Uh-huh.
and all things business. So it's a good opportunity for us to talk about it right here on this podcast and to get in to talk about some of the stuff that we do. I've been working with athletes from a financial standpoint of view for about 18 years, so that's how
Oh,
I
wow.
got into the whole sports component of this. And so we've been able to help athletes both during playing and then after retirement. And so part of my job as a financial advisor for those 22 short years was to help them to be able to, how do you live after the game is over, when the ball doesn't go into the hoop anymore, when you're no longer able to run on the football field, when you can't kick a soccer ball anymore, what happens? And so we've been able to create not only a show and an environment that was designed for athletes, but eventually became just a full-fledged sports show. But we do talk about business, and now, of course, today, we did that about 2 years ago, and now today you see all the shows on ESPN from the boardroom, uninterrupted with Maverick Carter.
Yes.
What they're doing. So it's now becoming more cachet, so to speak.
Right.
But probably just a few years ago, nobody was talking about athletes and what they do after sports. So this is a great show. It's a great venue and opportunity for us to have that conversation. I'm excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
He does sound excited about it.
He does
I'm
sound excited,
about it.
right?
I'm ready. I'm ready to get it going. I understood. I even told my guns blazing. Got my notes prepared. I mean, that little bio you try. I know what you try to do. You know, packing frogs for snakes. You know, that's what John Townsend would say. I understand what's going on here. I need to get ready to be sharp for today.
See, there's a lot of energy here on the 30-minute hour. You can tell.
Oh man.
So it's interesting. Again, we talk about whatever's on our mind. Here's something that's on my mind. I was listening to this famous businessman, philosopher named Jay-Z.
Right.
Right. Here's what he said. Somebody was asking him a question. He said, "I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman."
Okay.
And I think that just really ties into like what you do with the athletes, what we've seen with what's transpired over the past weekend in the NBA.
Yes.
They're looking at themselves, these players in the NBA, they're looking at themselves as a business.
That's right.
They're not just sitting back waiting for the owner to
That's
decide and dictate where they go and how much they make. They're making power moves. I mean, let's start with the Clippers.
Yes.
The Clippers. I mean, the Clippers were the laughing stock. They were that other team from LA, and now Kawhi Leonard has agreed to come on board with the Clippers.
Yes. I mean, if you think about it, you know, one thing we talk about, and it could be great here, is we talk about the business behind the business.
Uh-huh.
Is really what you're talking about.
Right.
And a lot of times, what people don't realize, people say the Clippers, and we're looking at it from a reputation standpoint of view. But the reality of it is, if you think about it today, the Clippers are owned by Steve Ballmer.
Mm.
You know, they were owned just a few years ago by a guy that wound up having to sell the Clippers, if you remember,
Yes.
because of the comments he had with Magic Johnson.
Right.
Remember that issue, the
Right.
racist, and everybody was walking out in black. We want to play for the Clippers.
Right.
Well, Steve Ballmer, you know, Microsoft owns it. And then you're talking about bringing in Doc Rivers,
Yes.
right? So now you're talking about bringing in a Hall of Fame coach. You're talking about a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're talking about bringing in the logo himself,
Jerry
right?
West.
Jerry West, to run the team.
Mm-hmm.
So you got Jerry West, you got Doc Rivers, and you got a guy from Microsoft. The organization has shifted.
Right.
So when these guys today are looking at the decisions to go, whether you're talking about West Coast, and I know we can talk about Kevin Durant and that decision, two things are happening. And, you know, in the era of basketball, I say there have been eras if you go back to the Magic era. And I know we'll
Right.
talk about that a little bit. You talk about the Chamberlain era, the Russell era and the Chamberlain era. And you talk about the Jordan era, right, of basketball. And then you talk about the LeBron era, right?
Right.
Well, I think from a business standpoint of view, those eras also have a play. Because if you go back to the Bill Russell, right, and the Wilt Chamberlain era of basketball during that era was not as popular as we're talking about today.
Yes.
That's number one. Players did not move. The reason why there was no free agency, because there was no reason and rationale for players to move.
Right.
They weren't making. See, today we're looking at 4-year, $164 million. People forget that during the Bill Russell era, the majority of professional basketball players worked a full-time job.
That's just hard to believe.
That's
but
hard
yeah.
to imagine, right? So when people start talking about eras,
Yeah.
well, first of all, this was not a full-time, this was not considered basketball, by the way, nor football.
Right.
The
Yeah.
only full-time sport during the 1960s was baseball. So most of the players worked another job, particularly NFL, but in the NBA as well. So it wasn't until the 70s that you saw players, and even in the 70s, you were a superstar, right? So you get into that era of 70s, when you start talking about the late 70s, get into the Celtics, and going to the 80s when you start talking about the Lakers.
Right.
Well, it was if you think about this, and I talk about the Magic era, think about this. Magic Johnson signed one of the most lucrative contracts in the 1990s.
Mm-hmm.
It was a considered then one of the most lucrative contracts by Jerry Buss.
Right.
What was that contract? It was $1 million for 15 years.
I
Now,
remember.
you remember
Yeah,
that?
I remember that.
Wow.
Okay. Now now that was so unbelievable that people hated Magic Johnson.
Mhm.
They were like, "What kind of relationship can you have with the owner that you sign a $1 million contract over like 15?" They were like, "That's insane."
Mm.
Today, no superstar would even sign it. They'd be like, "Are you nuts?"
Superstar.
Superstar. You couldn't even get a guy
On the
on
practice
the
squad.
practice squad to sign that deal.
Right.
So the Magic era changed from a business standpoint, right?
Absolutely.
The Jordan era shifted basketball from a business standpoint. Here is what happened in the Jordan era. For the first time, athletes started not only with free agency starting, even though it was limited, right? Remember, under the Jordan era, it was really the Larry Bird rule that got us to free agency today.
Right.
So under the Jordan era, before the Larry Bird rule, when the cap was in, when really, although they weren't so much dealing with so much of a hard cap, the player just couldn't move.
Right.
For an example, if a player signed a 5-year deal, it was no, oh, well, what you're gonna do in year 3 is you're gonna have Rich Paul coming in and y'all gonna sit down and negotiate and force a 5-team trade. No, what was gonna happen is you ain't playing.
Exactly.
We don't care who you are. If you sign a 5-year deal, year 3, you decide not to play, you done. Your career over with.
And that was in the Jordan era.
That's in the Jordan era.
So let's talk
Okay.
there, because I've been seeing these memes floating around
Right.
Facebook and social media saying, "Oh, hey, you remember that time when Jordan went chasing a ring and building super teams?" No, I don't remember that either. Jordan
Right.
would never do that. But what people don't understand is a different time.
Right. Jordan couldn't do that.
Right.
There's no way that Jordan could have gone when people are making a comparison between the LeBron era
Yes.
and the Jordan era from a business standpoint of view. What you have to understand is that Michael Jordan, think about it this way. Michael Jordan had won 4 championships at this stage that I'm about to say. When he won 4, so he was a 4-time champion.
Right.
Going into his 5th championship, Michael Jordan was the 38th highest paid player in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, he was the 3rd highest paid player on his team, because Scottie Pippen had just signed a new deal.
Right. Right.
Scottie Pippen had a new deal. Rodman had a new deal. Jordan had come up with a deal. So if you think about the era that you're in, the arguably the greatest player to play the game wasn't even the highest paid player in his era.
Right. Right.
Okay? See, he wasn't the highest paid player in his era. So now here comes the LeBron era. So the LeBron era, we got full free agency. Well, what LeBron does is he now leverages something that people don't talk about from a business standpoint. LeBron leverages social media to his advantage from an endorsement standpoint of view,
Mm-hmm.
as well as from a likability. So here's what LeBron does. LeBron says, what I can do is impact the game of basketball, because now it's on social media, right?
Right.
Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, whatever. Everybody want to be on social media. Well, okay, you created this. So now LeBron, you want to drive viewers to the game.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron understood this by saying, I know what I can add as a negotiating tool to these players. LeBron started leveraging his media contacts.
Mm-hmm.
He started leveraging his business to so Chris Bosh is sitting in Canada.
Right.
LeBron James is in Cleveland. Dwayne Wade, if I'm not mistaken, is in South Beach.
Right.
Now, just ask the question, where would you want to play? Canada, Cleveland, or South Beach?
Like, that's a tough one. Like
That's a tough one.
Cleveland, South Beach.
Cleveland.
Well, Britton, where would you like to play, Britton?
Jackson, Mississippi.
Jackson, Mississippi, right? So LeBron is like, you come to South Beach. They already have a guy who's won a championship. Number one. Number two, we're friends. Off season, Dwayne Wade and LeBron James are the best of friends. They out boating and smoking cigars and kicking it and hanging out, right?
Right.
So now it's just a matter of us wanting to play together because we're friends. Okay, where's the best place to play? Cleveland or South Beach? Because remember, Dwayne Wade could have come to Cleveland.
Right.
Bosh could have come to Cleveland because you would think with LeBron being the best player, right? Arguably in our era, why in the world would I want the best player to leave where I am and go someplace else versus LeBron going someplace else? Well, they looked at coaching. We got Pat Riley down there. We got Dwayne Wade down there. We got Mourning down there. You got Haslam there. We got a nucleus there. Now if you bring me and Bosh down there, we should be dominant.
And I think Spoelstra is an underrated coach.
The guy was in the film room before he became coach, but okay, nevertheless, I get it. I mean, you and I could have coached the team. Don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that Spoelstra is a bad coach.
No,
but trust me, they would have made it to the championship with Ted. Maybe not. Well, Ted possibly because Ted has a way to throw some stuff. You know.
Oh yeah. Oh, they're the one.
They're
the one. About
He would have definitely got the best out of it.
You can't take the strategist would have, But anybody, I'm not saying anybody could have coached your team, but let me just say it this way. Anybody probably could have coached your team. I mean, when you talking about LeBron in his prime, Bosh may be the best center at that era in his prime.
Yeah.
And you talking about a guy by the name of Dwayne Wade, who, if I'm not mistaken, all three of them people are going to the Hall of Fame.
Certainly.
So when you got three Hall of Famers,
nothing. You can't ask for anything but a loss in the championship, which is what they did.
They went to 4 straight championships.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about the era of LeBron, I think he opened up an era, but it's the era that we're in. And so now I say all that to say, when you're talking about AD now leaving and going to the Lakers to play with LeBron, when you're talking about KD now leaving a championship, you're talking about a team that won. See, this would have been unheard of in the Jordan era. You didn't win to the championship 5 times. You got hurt. I mean, just think about this. This man has an injury where he's not playing the following year. Mm-hmm. He has an Achilles injury, right? He's out for the entire year. Can you imagine in the Jordan era being able to leave? Okay, now you have an Achilles for the Bulls. You decide to leave, and another team is willing to pay you $164 million for 4 years, with one of them years sitting on the bench because you ain't gonna be playing.
Oh, I think teams would have definitely done that for Michael Jordan if they thought they could get him. If I could sign him and he's gonna be out,
I don't know. All I'm saying is I don't know if I doubt it. All I'm saying is I doubt if Michael Jordan could have had an Achilles injury for the Chicago Bulls, having won 3 championships, and said what he gonna do is I'm gonna leave. The Golden State Warriors, whoever, I'm gonna pay you $30 million to come here and not play. Somebody would have got fired. Somebody in the organization wasn't gonna have no job after that. They don't care who you are. They're like, let me get this straight. So you mean to tell me we are going to pay Michael Jordan $30 million for 1 year to sit on the bench? Is that what we all saying?
Stranger things have happened. What you guys say, Britton?
Well, I think one of the things, just going back, there are a couple of factors that we also have to consider just about the evolution of the game. The game, for one, in the different eras, the game now is globalized. Look at the Will Chamberlain, the Bill Russell era. Yeah, you see all these records on these stats, but there were also only 8 teams in the league at a point. You know what I mean? And now you talk about a team that you talk about a game that's in every major American city. Then you fast forward to the Olympics. We start getting beat by other teams with some of our best college players. We say, never again will that happen. Michael, Scotty, Patrick, Hakeem, David, all y'all get out there and beat everybody else. And so we go send the best players in the world to go globalize, to go play in the Olympics. Well, what that does is start to inspire all the kids. It inspires so many people, so many kids in all of these foreign countries. Now these foreign countries now see these guys as ambassadors, and the game is a little more globalized. It's no longer seeing subpar players or, some of the best names in college. Now you're seeing the best names in the NBA come over, and you're seeing Michael Jordan play in Barcelona. You're seeing all these guys. Then the Dream Team 2 comes over, and you're seeing even Shaq and the rest of these guys come over. So now the rest of the country is being exposed to the superstardom of NBA players. And then another factor we have to consider is the union. The NBA Players Union evolved just like any other trade union across the country. The NBA Players Union and negotiating collective bargaining agreements, the terms that they've negotiated to the terms that we see today have offered and have created the leverage for the players when it comes to players and what they now call governors, as the NBA has moved away from calling them owners. But we see now that the collective bargaining agreements have changed and been more in the players' favor to allow that fluidity and that freedom, which, naturally you think all the cards are in the hands of the players in that respect. But what it does for a lot of these governors, a lot of these other teams, you now allow the mid-major markets. You now allow teams like a Cleveland. You now allow all these other cities that aren't your typical landing destinations. Like you said, if every player drafted had a choice and every free agent had a choice, everybody would play in Hollywood, New York, and South Beach. And there would be no need for Utah, a team in Salt Lake City.
Right.
So now you actually have a collective bargaining agreement, and in limiting guys to signing, no longer being able to sign these 10-year deals and 8-year contracts, you now have players who can sign 4 years, 5 years, with player options to allow that mobility to move around. And why do these guys want to move around? In amateur basketball, we created a culture, this AAU culture, and I served as a AAU coach for 6 years. I've seen it. The culture of AAU is a lot different. These guys don't grow up. Yeah, people talk about the level of vitriol, Mike has for other players and other competition. That's because the only time they saw these guys were when they were in college, and they played against them in college. And next thing, after the game was over, they got on a bus and they didn't see each other till draft day. Now these guys have played together since they were 9 years old, 10 years old. These guys have known each other from North Carolina to California to Chicago, and they've been playing with each other for upwards of 12, 13, 14 years. And so then they get into the NBA, and there is this level of camaraderie, and I'm comfortable playing with these guys. I've played with these guys since we were in middle school. So now we've created this culture, and we can't expect them to do anything that the rest of the free market doesn't want to do. So it's going to be interesting going forward. I know Eric brought up the point about the Clippers going from a team that was once a laughing stock of the NBA to an odds-on second favorite from Las Vegas. So it'll be interesting to see with the rest of the parity that had happened this offseason in just 2 weeks from the NBA championship. So in a little less than 2 weeks, we've seen the level of playing field and almost a certain level of excitement return to the game of basketball.
Well, and great comments. I think now you have a feeling of balance where, say, this time last year it was like, okay, Golden State, they were a lot like the Qs. It was like, okay, who's gonna come in second?
See?
You know,
Unbelievable.
they were just dominant, like we talked about last time. But now, and I knew you liked that, Britton. But now, I mean, this time last year it was all about Golden State.
Right.
And we knew if everybody's healthy, let's go ahead and give them the championship right now.
Or at least say they were gonna be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But it's different now. I mean, now you throw in the Clippers, you got the Lakers,
Nets.
Brooklyn. They're strong now.
Yeah, a couple of. Well, I think that the era, and definitely what Britt talked about, the era of now they're being able to move, and then what the players also see is they can now, what LeBron really, I call it the LeBron era, because what he was able to do, and notice the vitriol that LeBron had for doing that. People forget about that. When LeBron left Cleveland, people have a short memory. They basically said, this is the slave leaving the plantation, and we don't understand why, because we actually feed them real good. Let's be clear about what the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers said when the man left and went to this. You would have thought that he done took all the cotton off the plantation with him when he left.
You mean when LeBron exercised his right as a free agent?
When he exercised his right as a free agent and went on ESPN, you would have thought
right.
that LeBron James had stole all the money out of the Cleveland State Bank, took it down to the man was. It wasn't like he was breaking the contract.
Right.
And so that lets you know that before LeBron had done that had never been done before.
Right.
LeBron, they didn't like the fact that, listen here, we are giving, this is what LeBron did that changed the actual dynamic. LeBron James took less to win more.
Right.
This is what they could not believe.
Mm-hmm.
They could not believe that LeBron James would leave $15 million at the table, $20 million on the table in contractual dollars to go to South Beach. But LeBron said, I'm going to leave $15 million or $20 million on the table in this contract. Why? Because I can make $40 million when it comes to endorsements in South Beach, number one. And number two, if I win a championship, I ain't got to worry about this $20 million. So guess what every other player is saying now? They have seen the blueprint of that work out to LeBron being worth now, what, $500 million?
Right.
So guess what everybody's saying? That obviously worked. See, that's what the players are saying. So now you got Kevin Durant saying, let me see. This is not about winning championships going to Brooklyn. Not just about winning championships, because Kevin got 2 championships.
Right.
This is about me leveraging my network and my net worth. And what better way to do that by signing with Rock Nation?
Mm-hmm.
And the last I checked, I thought Rock Nation was in New York.
Yeah.
Now, I know that my geography sometimes is off, but I think New Jersey is kind of close to New York.
Right.
And I know at one point, didn't Jay-Z have some ownership in
He had some ownership in the Nets.
Right.
So think about what these guys are really thinking.
Yep.
Well, they making power moves.
Kevin Durant realized he ain't playing next year. But it doesn't mean that he can't leverage all of the business opportunities that Jay-Z can bring to the table. What kind of business opportunity do you think Jay-Z can bring to the table for Kevin Durant?
Yeah.
Billions.
Billions. So these guys, so what I think you're going to start seeing is you're going to see within these quote governors, because the only reason I came to this governors thing because Draymond got mad that they was still calling them owners. Like, well, what else? That's another conversation. Like,
Right.
what else do you think? Well, they do own a contract.
Right.
Like, what do you think they are?
Mm-hmm.
They're billionaires that own millionaires. They can
Right.
trade. Anytime somebody can trade you, that means that they own you.
Britton, I think you wanted to say something?
No. I was agreeing with him to that point of how players are, opting out of contracts and having that, leverage to even do other things outside of basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like I said, we saw during the '90s, guys going into you go to LA because you have more opportunities in Hollywood. You look at the superstar that Shaq was.
Mm-hmm.
Shaq had 3 or 4 movies before he had ever gone to LA.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, their profiles raised even higher. Look at the idea of Space Jam. The just the marketing of the game of basketball, and it takes even newer forms today, as this current players union just launched a new marketing strategy and marketing approach with 450 to own their likenesses. As a guy who grew up in the video game era, the images that we saw on the video games, the players didn't receive the revenue from it. They received a share of the revenue,
right,
because the owners of the teams controlled the likenesses of the players that they had under contract.
right.
So now the players actually own the marketing and own the licensing for their likeness, which is a great deal. And it also goes to show where you talk about even guys like LeBron and Kevin Durant. Both of these guys had television shows during the season, even further raising their ability to be marketable and draw revenue. So that overall impact of the game has been amazing to watch and inspiring for a lot of younger players who coming into the league. They want that. They aspire to that.
Certainly. So, but before we kind of shift into how this translates into the business world and corporate America, this whole business mindset and really owning your career, I do want to stay with the sports. I want to hear from each of you as far as who you think is the favorite to win the championship based off of all these moves. I mean, we've got Brooklyn, we've got the Lakers, we've got the Clippers, we've got the Knicks. Just kidding.
The Wizards.
Right, you got the Wizards. So
we'll add in the
right.
in editing. We'll add that in editing.
Right. Now I have quite a few Knicks fans that follow us. I figure they'll get a kick out of that part of the show. So Terrell, who do you think is the favorite to win the championship now?
So, who I think, let me say who I think will I think fans are looking at the Clippers and the Lakers, and for sure, and no doubt. I personally think the team in the West, and who I think could get back, are the Golden State Warriors. It is more likely for me, with them making sure that Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green. And Draymond said something very interesting throughout the year, of course, and people have picked that up. But I think people forgot about it. The Golden State Warriors, with that nucleus of a team. Now, of course, they no longer have Iguodala.
Right.
They won't have Looney, but they'll have players that'll be right there. That team has, I think, the mindset and the understanding of how to get there. I don't know, just because LeBron and AD, and don't get me wrong, I think that's a heck of a 1-2 combination. I don't know how much support they have to necessarily get them. And just like Kawhi and Paul George, I think a heck of a combination. I'm saying, if all things being equal, if barring major injuries, my opinion, I think the Golden State Warriors not only could get there, but I think they could redeem themselves and potentially win it again.
Interesting. So even with Klay being out with his ACL, you still think?
I think, but see, Klay's ACL, he's not out for the whole season. From what I understand, he's coming. I think it's more of a 4 to 6.
He'll be back in January.
Yeah. I think it's more of a 6-month kind of deal. I think Klay, whereas with Kevin Durant with the Achilles, he basically out for 2019, 2020. Basically. So I think Clay Golden. Now that's what again. I know there's some scenarios there. Don't get me wrong. I think the Clippers are very strong with Kawhi and with Paul George. I think that combination is that's going to be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just say that right now.
Certainly.
That's going to be a problem in the West with Kawhi and Paul George. And like I say, obviously when you talk about LeBron and Anthony Davis, I mean, so I definitely, I mean,
So you're.
but my pick is Golden State. My pick is Golden State.
I just want to know what your pick is.
My pick is Golden State.
Britton.
Britton, what's your pick?
What's your pick?
Look, I don't care about the Clippers, Gilligan and the Skipper, Uncle Jesse and the Rippers, Lakers in 5. That team has all the pieces, the movement, even the role players. Picking that roster of role players with Rondo, Avery Bradley, Danny Green, and a lot of guys, JaVale McGee, all these guys who have championships, who won before, won in other places, to go with two superstars in LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and then you got Durant. Then you got Kuzma as a rising superstar. Then you sign Boogie, and also it's that team has all the elements necessary, and we've seen a guy like LeBron win with a lot less. So you actually give him some ingredients that you can use to make a meal with. I think they're gonna eat.
Okay, so we have Golden State. We've got the Lakers, Ted.
Come on, man. Showtime 2.0.
The Wizards?
No.
No.
No,
That's what I thought you said.
that's no time. No, we talking, as Britton said, L.A., A.D., Boogie, LeBron, Kuzma. I mean, that squad right there, they're going to be tough to beat for 4 games. I mean, I can't see it. So definitely Lakers. Definitely Lakers. And you can put whoever you want in the East against them.
Yeah, I think I go with the Lakers as well. I mean, you got Danny Green, who's been in championships. I mean, that year that they lost to the Heat, he could have been the MVP.
Yeah.
He was playing so well
Oh,
in
yeah.
that final series.
Oh, yeah.
Missed the free, but he missed those free throws.
Right.
He was too tired after hitting on the threes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Danny Green. You got Rondo. I mean, even JaVale McGee, who's won with Golden State.
Oh yeah.
And I tell you what, the key, if DeMarcus Cousins, if he comes back as the old boogie, it's a wrap.
That ain't gonna be no old coming back in the old boogie. The old boogie is just that he done boogie down the road.
He done boogie down the road.
The old boogie gone.
Well, if he give them about 18 points,
Give him 18 and 10.
rebounds.
He might give him 18 minutes. He ain't giving no 18 points.
I'm telling you.
Get back in ball shape, and
Right.
play the whole season, and
How was he looking this year?
He did okay in the playoffs.
He did in one playoff game. He did okay
but he was out most of the season.
because he had the Achilles.
The Achilles,
You don't come
yeah.
back from that Achilles. You don't come back the same way from that Achilles unless you now again. I'm hoping Kevin does. Now, don't get me wrong. Boogie might surprise everybody, like you said. Not that he gonna have to, but
Yeah.
I think you putting a lot of trust. Putting a
Yeah,
lot of trust.
nobody since Dominique been able to come back
You're absolutely right.
from that.
Nobody except for Dominique Wilkes, the only person I've seen be able to come back and dominate from an Achilles like that.
Mm.
That type of injury takes almost, and particularly when you're talking about you getting age, you start talking about you 29, 30,
Right.
31. And so, don't get me wrong, picking the LA Lakers, when you're talking about, LeBron and AD, you got the unibrow with you.
Right.
You got a 7-foot tarantula out there who you can.
LeBron ain't never had no one like that.
Yeah, he's never had
throw
no-
the ball up to all day, every day.
Yeah.
Who you got, Eric?
I have the Lakers.
He picked the Lakers too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a on paper, it's a pick that is hard to go against.
Right.
But when I look at experience, I keep thinking about the New England Patriots. Everybody keeps saying they ain't going. They clearly overmatched. But see, Tom Brady, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, everybody talk about what they would like to do. And everyone knows had Kevin Durant not got hurt this year, I love Kawhi, they would have lost in 5.
So I think even if Clay had been healthy the whole series with Durant out, I think Golden State could have still won.
Think about it. And we love Kawhi.
Right.
But they won the series. They won the series, a tough fought series with Kevin Durant being out, obviously, with Clay being out 2 games, with Looney being out, with Steph going down a half a game, with Draymond being out. I'm not saying, I don't take anything away from people winning a championship.
Right.
But my point is, let's don't act like the Toronto Raptors beat the Golden State Warriors of the playoffs when they got to the playoffs. Let's be clear that they was basically beating it's kind of like that same team when the Golden State beat LeBron, right. And basically it was LeBron and Matt and Dellavedova,
and me and Ted.
And we was out there,
I play small.
Yeah, you played right. So when Golden State beat Cleveland, and they had to beat them in 5 with LeBron basically scoring all the points for Cleveland. Yeah. Okay, I'm not saying that you don't win a championship, but let's don't act like that was the LeBron team.
Right.
So, that's all I'm saying.
So what you're saying is that Golden State can get back to form prior to picking up Kevin Durant, because they got to go back to how they used to play.
Right.
So that's going to be something to
that
see.
That style
if they
that they played. Remember, Golden State did something that I think a lot of people don't give Steve Kerr credit for. I'm talking from a coaching. Steve Kerr basically took a dominant superstar and put him into a system that was already a superior winning system. Mm-hmm. And the other players acquiesced to this superstar.
Yeah.
That's unheard of.
Hold on. One thing I want to say is on this show,
we don't use
word like acquiesce.
Well, on my show, I got it.
I mean, if we can't spell it, we don't use it, man. Come here, we're talking about, we acquiesce.
Right? They decided, think about what Steph Curry and them said.
Yeah.
We will let, when have you ever seen a championship team let a superstar come to the team and the superstars on this championship team say, we will let you be the star of our team and change how we play the game to accommodate you. This has never been done in the NBA on that level. You can't pick a team with even LeBron going to Miami.
That was a process.
Was a process.
Yeah, they got to that point, but it didn't start that way.
LeBron went. People forget. LeBron went to Miami, and although Dwayne Wade said, because they were friends, yeah, well, LeBron is the leader. If you look at the style of play that the Miami Heat played, guess who they played that through? They played it through Dwayne Wade.
Right.
Because Dwayne Wade had won a championship.
Right.
And LeBron said, I'm going to adjust my game to fit into the championship system that Pat Riley and the Miami Heat had. That's normally what happens there. Rarely will you ever find a team that has won a championship and been as dominant as Golden State. Then they say, hey, what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and change our style. What we're going to do is run the ball through Kevin. Let Kevin basically dictate at the top of the key how we gonna run this offense. Steph is gonna move to a half breed 1-2, Klay Thompson is gonna play the two, and everybody just gonna circle around and see what Kevin Durant and how he operates. If you know Kevin decides to take his man down to the post, we all gonna play that way. If Kevin decides to take his man to the outside, we all gonna play that way.
Yeah.
That's why Draymond. This is why Draymond and Kevin Durant had the confrontation that they had on the court.
Mm-hmm.
Because Draymond was saying, wait a minute, the way we play is spacing and the open man. We play go down the court,
Right.
space the ball out, find the open man. If Clay is spot up, find him. If Steph is spot up, find him. If Draymond is spot up, find him. Notice when Kevin Durant got hurt, what the Golden State Warriors did when the Golden State Warriors played Portland.
They went back to their old way of playing.
Look at the style of play that they played.
It worked.
They went right back to a spacing game, a spacing component where they running down the court, everybody's spaced out. You don't know where the ball is going to get thrown to, and whoever can get the ball on, out there doing that 3-point line or like right there at the perimeter, they can either go to the basket or they can shoot it. Portland ain't have a chance.
Right.
And the Raptors would not have had a chance had Klay Thompson not they might have had a chance. Had Klay Thompson not gone down, that would have gone game 7.
I think if he was healthy the whole series, I think that Golden State still could have won it.
Had he been healthy?
If Klay was healthy the whole series, just because Klay's a two-way guy. Not only is he a great shooter, but he's a lockdown defender too. So, you're losing that.
So when people say that Kevin's gone, don't get me wrong, that's always going to be a blow to any team. But to a Golden State team,
they were great before.
This team has the record for the most wins
73.
in the history of the NBA.
Right.
Okay, so this takes me back to another debate that we've had when everybody talks about.
Yeah.
And everybody talk about it was the same thing when Kevin Durant went to Golden State, and as it was when LeBron went to Miami. Now, Britton, was it the same thing to you?
No. But neither of the things were that big for me. I've always been an advocate of watching the players go from place to place and do whatever's best for them and their family, and the notion that you have guys that, like I said, I always used to detest the whole, well, you never saw these guys in this era. They never left, and they played where they won a championship with one city. They had these different factors, and anybody who makes a business decision that works out best for them and their family have all at it. And neither of them were that were that crucial to make someone or to make me lose respect for either of these guys, but it wasn't the same as LeBron's was actually a calculated move that was years in the making. Mm-hmm. If you remember, even before then, that was the time when the guys from that 03 class, none of those guys took their extension with their current teams,
right,
and then signed a softer deal so that they could be in position to be free agents, all in that same class. And so that was a plan lined up with the end of a collective bargaining agreement, and there were so many other factors that happened there. Kevin Durant, he wanted to win a ring, man.
Right.
I ain't mad at him.
Right. We down 3-1. We was up 3-1.
It was still a soft move.
We was up 3-1.
It was a soft move. I don't care how
they came back, and you know what? I'm so mad. I'm gonna join them next year. I got something for them.
That's a soft move.
I got something for
I know everybody said they win the ring.
I got something for them.
Yeah. I would have done what Kawhi did. I would have done something else. Kevin Durant, and I think, by the way, I'm a Kevin Durant fan. I am. I'm a Kevin Durant fan, and and I hate to be 100% in this when it comes to being in agreement with Stephen A. Smith on this, but I have there again because I look at Kevin Durant becomes the only superstar to go from the conference championship. Yes, he was up 3-1, right? They lose 4-3 to go to the team that beat you. There is no other superstar that's ever done that.
No.
So my point is, you become the unicorn in this context. There will be an ash. This is why he then leaves and goes to the Brooklyn Nets. Because here's what he knows.
I gotta fix my legacy.
My legacy.
I gotta fix it.
The man's as great of a
Hall
player.
Hall of Fame, he got all that.
Hall of Fame. People put him into the class with LeBron. You can do that all that. You went to a 73-win team.
Right.
Terrell.
The same team that eliminated you.
Let me say this to you. We would have won a championship if I went to Golden State. I didn't have to touch the court. They was already champions.
They was gonna win that championship the next year. Whether Kevin Durant went there, Bradley Beal, Bradley Sampson, Bugs Bunny, whoever showed up on the team,
right?
That's right.
They was gonna win that championship the following year.
Webster could have been out there.
Muggsy Bogues, anybody you want to throw out there,
right.
They was gonna win the championship.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of times in this era, I think that what LeBron, and don't get me wrong, similar to, I know when people start talking about boxing, I use the same analogy on my show when we start talking about Floyd Mayweather, the greatest business athlete of our era.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it. He took total control of the whole promotion of boxing. The man can make $100 million a fight. Anytime you can make $200 million fighting a man that ain't never been a professional boxer before, let me tell you something. That's ingenious. You are a genius as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Right.
The same thing in these professional basketball players. If you tell me Kawhi Leonard, everybody knew when Kawhi went to the Raptors and he done won a championship, he knew his leverage was great. They waving flags out there in Canada with Kawhi shirts on, hoping that he stayed. Kawhi was like, it's too doggone cold up here. I'm about to go right to L.A.
Yeah.
Which is what I told y'all I was going to do when I left San Antonio.
Yeah. Right.
Kawhi said that's why he signed a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody, well, Kawhi won a championship. He like, that's even better. Now I'm guaranteed to get the money I want.
Right. Now I have even more leverage.
Right.
This
was a business decision. Kawhi has business interests, which people don't understand, in LA. Who don't want to be beside their business interests?
Yeah.
And you have to think about attracting free agents. I mean, if you're a free agent, are you going to go to Canada or are you going to go to LA to join Kawhi?
Let's just put it this way. If you already, let's say, Ted being the great athlete that he is, he's a phenomenal. You see, he got the hat on.
Yeah, there you go.
Softball.
Well, let me tell you. First game yesterday, I was a little rusty. I was 0 for 2 in the first game. Second game, I heated up. I was 2 for 3 in the second game.
You heated up.
Yeah, we still lost both games.
But you came
game
on.
2, I could feel,
Came alive.
Into a rhythm. So wait till next week.
Uh-huh.
All right.
So imagine if you own a multi-million-dollar operation wherever you are, L.A., Miami, New York. Your family is there. Your business is there, and now you have been playing in doggone Canada, for the last year. All your operation is in LA. That means that when you get finished with the basketball game, you got to make all these long distance phone calls. You got to call all these people, see what they're going on, and now you don't want a championship. I'm surprised that Kawhi Leonard didn't get on an airplane and fly to LA and do all the negotiation with LA, which is probably what he did.
Right.
He probably went to his house and was like, I'm just going to negotiate off of here. Because, and believe me, it was a very easy negotiation for Kawhi. Because Kawhi walked into the LA Clippers saying this, Faye, for you to give me all the money that I want, I'm going to the Lakers.
Yeah.
See, it was a very easy negotiation for him.
You know, the other thing is funny about it. The other thing is funny about this. I've never seen a player say, "Look here, y'all better not talk about the meeting. Y'all better be quiet about the meeting. Anybody that any words get out about the meeting,
Yeah.
you're not gonna be considered anymore." I mean, he straight was the boss in this.
Yeah.
And that's what because he was like, I got all the cards.
Right.
And so I think that's what I'm saying. I think the LeBron era and owners hate it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they are sitting there figuring out how can we stop this? Because they saying, well, shoot, anybody who becomes a superstar can just change the whole league. Exactly.
Well, now what's going to happen is for so many years we've been talking about trying to get, more minority ownership at all. Right now, these things are building up to a place where there will be that minority ownership. But you will have
I think so. I think you. Well, I tell you what. If not, the players saying we gonna take it over and own it ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the leagues are making a lot of money. These owners are making a fortune. You don't have to be a good team to make $100 million a year.
Right.
The Washington Wizards are proving this. They proving it. They are.
That's a perfect example.
This is a perfect example.
Right,
The
right.
head wave with the W you got on yet. It's a perfect. You can't get no. We just. I mean, we have no problem with locking in with mediocrity.
Yeah.
Just right on out through the 2027
Yeah,
season.
yeah,
we
got
good
that
to go.
covered.
We got it covered.
We
We
got
don't
that
mind
covered.
being the ninth team in the East
Yeah.
because we can make $60 million profit
Right.
with no problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's gonna be. Matter of fact, the Wizards have gotten so good. We have just started advertising the other teams that's coming to the Verizon Center. Everybody, come on out to see AD and LeBron.
That's right.
It's gonna be a phenomenal game. This is where we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the league has guaranteed money that that people don't talk about that these owners make. They're making hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. They already know when the season starts, just like we just said. They already know there's only 5 teams that got a chance to go to the championship.
Mm-hmm.
They good with that.
Yep.
Trust me, the Detroit Pistons ain't losing no sleep on not making this playoff. They already know they ain't gonna make the playoffs.
Right.
All right? The Orlando Magic is right now as we're talking, it started with the fact, well, we gonna 9 times 10 miss the playoffs. And we ain't got no problem with that.
And if we do make it, we'll be an AC.
Yeah, we're gonna be an AFC, which means
Right.
we're gonna
And
lose
we're
the
gonna be out in the
first
first round.
Which is by the way perfect for us. That means we can watch the rest of the playoffs and collect our money and watch everybody else work to death.
Right.
Kill themselves.
Let me throw something else out there. A totally different sport. And I don't know if anyone knows anything about it because I don't. But World Cup.
I'm gonna say softball.
The women's
I
World
know
Cup.
a little something about softball.
Right.
World Cup. Yeah, we won again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, back to back, the women.
Yeah, I mean they've been winning.
And a lot of people when they talk about soccer, I'll say this. When we talk about the popularity of U.S. football in the United States, and we talk about the money, people don't realize NFL owners make the most money of any owners of any professional sport. Most
Right.
people don't know this. The NFL generated $14 billion last year. The NBA to put that in context, the NBA generated $9 billion, right? Major League Baseball generated between $6.5 to $7 billion. Hockey generated $3 billion. Okay, hockey has a no salary cap. Major League Baseball has no salary cap. See, then the hue starts changing on the field. National Basketball Association has a salary cap with the Larry Bird exemption. The hardest salary cap is the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Guess which owners make the most money? Guess which players make the least money? NFL players whose career can be over with one hit make less money than any other major league except for hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Question: how'd you just shift away from soccer?
Because I ain't want to talk about soccer. No,
You said American football.
yeah,
and then we went to
American
football.
football. But no, in Europe, soccer players, that is the sport.
Right.
Because it's representing the whole country.
Yeah.
So when you get Manchester out there, playing Liverpool, like it's only two of them for the whole doggone country, and why have been six? It's really more than that, it's like eight.
Right.
But the point that I'm making is, soccer becomes, from a money standpoint, I will tell you, from again, no salary cap in soccer, the highest paid players in the world are soccer players.
I believe that. I mean, because they're like global.
No. Albert Cristiano is the highest paid. He might make somewhere in the neighborhood of like 60-something million this year.
You really do know something about soccer, but you said Albert Cristiano. Who?
Yeah. I mean, you look at the top players, the actual athletes who are making the most money.
Well,
soccer players.
Yeah. Lionel Messi is the highest soccer player, highest paid soccer player. He'll make 111 million.
Yeah. So Messi's going to make
A Renaissance man. He knew
right.
It.
All right.
He had that
All
stat.
right.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to think too. I mean, they're drawing income for the top soccer player in England, France.
Right.
I mean, anywhere he goes around the world is getting mobbed. So I mean, that certainly makes them more valuable. So we're talking about these players having leverage. These players are like businesses. How does that translate into this mindset shift? So you had this mindset shift, right? So initially it was about security. Okay, I'm going to be like Magic Johnson. I'm going to sign this long contract and be secure. And now it's about leverage. And hey, if you aren't willing to do and provide what I need, I'm going to go to the next. How does that transition into the business world?
Go ahead, Dad.
Well, I think that's really how it is in the business world already, right? I mean, people know that if you have certain skill sets, certain capabilities that are in demand, that you can name your price.
Right.
Like in the business that I'm in, if you have certain experience and certifications in cybersecurity, these folks name their price.
Right.
They name their price and they go from company to company to company, and they get $10,000-$20,000 increase per move doing the same job. But they know that they hold the cards there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like in sports. Sports, they're using that same type of leverage. Britton, you were about to say
Britton?
Well, you also have to remember that this generation of athletes, like this group of millennials we grew up watching athletes do different things. So we grew up watching athletes in movies, on commercials, in rap videos. We watched them do so many different things. And now our culture has arrived to that point where people are already looking at, and this is something we talked about on this podcast several times before, looking at what's next. Mm-hmm. Not realizing that, I want to go to the NBA, but that's my first career.
Right.
That's cool. I'm only an NBA player till I'm 37. Or if I'm lucky, but and I'm talking about even superstar mentality. These guys are like, I'm an NBA player for right now. After I leave the NBA, I'm gonna have a franchise full of XYZ. And I was fortunate to grow up in the same hometown as Junior Bridgman. And the funny thing about Junior Bridgman had a laundry list of Wendy's franchises and. We were all excited about meeting him as former NBA player. And I just remember my cousin, who did not pay attention to basketball at all, was excited about meeting him. I'm like, oh, that's the guy who owns so many Wendy's in the metropolitan area. I'm like, what are you talking about? That guy used to score. And that's the mindset players have now, because that's where our culture is. You look on Instagram, it's people doing 17 different things, from behind the camera, in front of the camera, on producing movies to starting different things. So we're just a diversified group of folks. And when it became culturally acceptable and guys started to understand how to use that leverage to do different things, basketball became transition from being an end to just a means.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just think for the listener, and it goes back to the Jay-Z quote we started with. You have to see yourself as a business. And the days of depending on a supervisor or a company to take care of you is over. The days of just looking for the security. I mean, I think you have to look at your skills. You know, what certifications can I get to make myself marketable? That transitions into other things. You know, what you know, is there a side business that I can start and ultimately that can become a full time thing? I mean, Terrell, any thoughts? I know your podcast is about business and looking at yourself as a business. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, exactly as you said. I mean, exactly as Ted said, and exactly as Brittany, you've said. When it comes down to your skill set and kind of what you're trying to do from a business standpoint of view, I mean, you have to look at it and particularly when you talk about professional athletes. You know, most of us are looking at these. We normally name your more popular, very highly skilled, best players. But the reality of it is, when you think about a professional athlete's career, unlike most businesses, it is a very limited career.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your average basketball player plays 3.5 years. Your average football player plays 2.4 years. Your average baseball player plays longer than both of them, which is around 6 years. So what happens? So think about your average basketball player. He's coming in 22 years, 21 years old, 18, and whenever he's coming in. Their careers, by the time they're 25 and 26, generally for most basketball players is over at the professional level. See, we don't hear that part about this when we're doing these type of scenarios. We don't hear that.
Right.
And so unlike most businesses, you don't get a chance to ramp up and figure out the tools and be competitive and negotiate your way, and in year 8 make a profit, and in year 12 expand your operation, and by the time you're 20 years you get to look back over your career. You don't get to do that for 95% of all the professional basketball players.
Right.
They have to basically go in with the mindset of, I got to do the best I can, and I might be out of here. And there are 1,000 reasons why you might not be playing. Might have nothing to do with injury.
Yep.
The owner can decide. We already got 6 people who can shoot threes. Why we need a 7th? It ain't the fact you can't shoot threes very well. You just out of the rotation.
What you just said is the reason I never get mad at these guys, these athletes.
Right.
Because when the owner has the leverage, you better believe that owner's going to use it.
He ain't going to use it. I mean, it's a business. They don't need to have 5 big men. They don't need 3 LeBrons. Believe me, they need 1. They don't need to have, and so when you just think about the trade that the Lakers made, right? So finally the New Orleans, traded AD for the whole team for the Lakers, right?
Right.
Had the team. Now, out of them players that's going to New Orleans, and even out of the players that's staying, I'm not saying I think LeVar Ball is a good player. What's the boy's name? You got me
LeVar, you talking LeVar Burton? No, he done gone to roof.
Reading Rainbow. All right.
Lonzo Ball is a good player. I'm talking about his father, LeVar.
Right.
No, LeVar Ball wasn't a good player.
Right.
I'm talking about his son, Lonzo.
Oh,
I think he's a decent player.
Yeah.
But when you look at the trade that was made,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the kid cannot play. He was a number 2 selected player. Went to the Lakers. All I'm saying is, in the next year or 2 will define whether or not he plays 3 years or whether he can put together a 7 or 8 year stint as a player. Is what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
Based on his skill set. So this is very critical. If he can, show that his game is diversified enough for it to really make somebody like the New Orleans Pelicans now a competitive team, he might be able to stay around. If he can't, his career could be over. Yeah. That's what I mean. So it's a different business.
Yeah.
And the problem is most young people, because they're young, it doesn't matter what business they're in, think this is going to last longer than what I think it is. I'm going to be playing like Kevin. I'm going to be playing like AD. I'm gonna be playing like George Paul. I'm gonna be playing like Russell. Maybe not. So I think you have to look at it from the context of where that is and kind of make the decision of you have to think of your business a little bit different. So I agree with you 100%. You got to look at it from a business standpoint, but you got to think this is a different business.
Right.
Well, the other thing that you also have to think about is, again, your individual brand as a player, right? Like we think about some of the things that happened in the league. What's the guy's name with Kansas City? He had one issue.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, Tariq Hill and his brand, his business, right? It was just like you had you had an issue with food in the restaurant, and the word got out there, and nobody else wanted to go to the restaurant. Nobody else wanted to touch the place anymore, right?
Right.
That's what happened, right? So he, immediately was cut from the team because Kansas City did not want to mess up their brand. They didn't want to let him go, right? But
And he's
connected
great,
to their brand,
but, yeah.
they had to let him go.
Yeah, let him go.
And so he had to go out there and probably take less money to come in with Cleveland, but nobody's probably going to touch him with endorsements for some time.
Right.
Right? So one mistake impacted his brand, one evening, right? So it's just something to think about.
For sure. So I want to shift gears a little bit. I want the listeners, I mean, you've been great on this sports talk and to translate sports to business, but let's talk about your business. You're in the insurance industry. Tell our listeners how your services can help them.
Well, let me first talk about, Insurance Direct 123.
Uh-huh.
We created a platform in 2016 that allows consumers to buy life, health, auto, as well as homeowners insurance all on one platform, on an online platform. We call it in the business, when we start talking about the insurance tech sector. So the insurance technology sector. So we created one of the first platforms, particularly from an African American owned company, that allows you from a digital marketing standpoint to be able to do that. Then we added a agent portal that allows now independent agents from all over the country to really link into our back office, into our platform, to be able to sell insurance now in a turnkey manner, as almost as their own, as not only as their own independent agent, but really as their own independent agency. So they can private label our platform, sell from their own agency standpoint of view, and then in their hometown, whether it's Columbia, South Carolina, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, whether it's Raleigh, North Carolina, King George, Virginia, right here in Maryland, they have the ability to sell and to relicense our platform kind of on their ability, turnkey in such a way that we've been able to do it at a price point that they can do it for under $100 a month. So it makes it very affordable and very attractive for a lot of agents who are looking to get into the business and they don't have the resources. We help provide the resources, quoting tools, and engines to help them to be able to do that. And as we begin to build out our platform, as we begin to grow it and looking to expand more partners, that's one of the things we're looking to do is kind of, again, what's your competitive edge? So our business is trying to take a platform that we're trying to be a field marketing organization that has more of a digital kind of footprint to what we're doing and how we're kind of building out. And so we're adding now social media, we're adding, other components to kind of help really build that out. So we're really acting more as a digital marketing firm and less as an insurance agency.
Okay, excellent. And so you're not only involved with this business, you're an author.
Yeah, so in 2014, I authored a book called By Faith, Live Life. My wife passed away. First wife passed away in 2009 from diabetes. We'd been married for 18 years and had 2 children. And so it took me about 4 or 5 years. I wrote a book, and it just basically was talking about, which by the way, I'm even speaking on that tomorrow. It kind of talks about, how to deal with a difficult situation, how to deal as a caregiver, how to go through certain circumstances. And so even as a licensed and ordained minister, I took 13 messages that I had written during that time and preached during that time, and I put it in a story format about this situation. And so it kind of gave you a better perspective of how you kind of can transition and hopefully help, transition during that time frame, looking at our story on that.
So insurance, sports, podcast, minister, author.
Yeah.
Again, another one of those individuals that they have probably about 50 or 60 hours in a day. I don't know how.
Yeah, I really, Terrell, at this point, I question if you sleep or not. I have to tell you.
I do.
You do sleep? Okay.
I do sleep.
Okay.
I got too much energy to go to sleep. I wake up in the middle of the night. Let me tell you something.
I got a lot of energy. But it's just, what happens is a life experience. It's like
Yeah.
I got into sports, really as a way interested in of course, my interest in sports and kind of what we do in sports. I really like sports. But I really kind of got into it out of this whole context of to be honest with you, it was an outlet. It was an outlet for me to kind of get out, to kind of talk about sports. I really got interested in it. And then I said, since I had an insurance business, nobody wants to talk about insurance. So they'd rather talk about sports. So I used my insurance company to, promote my sports business.
Right.
So that's kind of how I got into it.
Yeah.
And kind of how it worked from there. So yeah.
But no, I just make it this point week after week. There's always time.
Yeah.
There's always
And people always say, I don't have time. I don't have. No, there's always time. You can make the time.
Yep.
And you're proving that. And you're doing everything well. How can our listeners get a hold of your book?
Well, you can go to Amazon. You can go to, I think, all the major kind of, bookstores and outlets. Obviously, you can just reach me directly.
You can just meet you out in the parking lot.
Meet me out in the parking lot. Just call me up, man. Get me on Facebook.
I can get you
Biz, the Politics, Terrell Sheppard. You can find me. But no, you can go to Amazon. You can go to.
Okay.
You can go to. And actually, the book is interesting that you mentioned that we're actually doing an audio version of the book in the relaunch.
Okay.
So the audio version will come out in September.
Great.
And there'll be kind of an audio version of the book as well as the relaunch of the book itself.
Fantastic. So if someone wants to take advantage of the insurance offerings, the best way for them to do that is
go to www.insurancedirect123.com. That's www.insurancedirect123.com. Get us right online. More than happy to help you in any aspect when it comes to one of our agents. Be more than happy to get with you.
Excellent. Very good. Okay. It's been a pleasure having you on the 30-minute hour. We're going to shift to the Around the Horn segment. This is where we leave our listeners with a final closing thought. What's one thing you want to leave the listeners with to remember you by?
Well, hopefully, as I say on the podcast, I love talking about all things sports and all things business. But I always try to end my show just, with the understanding that, guess what? Live life to the fullest. Never take for granted what God has given you when it comes to life, and just always try to, impact someone positively, but do all that you can while you can, so that life becomes worth living.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank
you for sharing that. Britton?
Something that we talked about with today about with the players and we kept using the phrase, the leverage they have and the leverage. But one of the things that I want to impart in closing is the players actually have understanding of ownership, equity and ownership, and there's a big difference. While they understand what they own. They may not own the team, may not own the mascots, the jerseys, may not own any of those things. But what they do own, like we said, they own their brand. And understanding the power of building and refining that brand has allowed them to do things that put themselves in positions that they can generate multiple streams of revenue, not reliant on any other structures, any other systems, which has led to this generation of athletes being even more socially vocal on political issues, on issues that affect the country. And that transitions to something that Ted was trying to bring up earlier with our women's soccer team. Women's soccer team, back-to-back champions, 4 championships in the 28 years of Women's World Cup. The United States has won 4 of those World Cup championships, and this World Cup championship group of women really had a point to drive home, not only just on the field but off the field, by promoting women's issues, raising the brand of their individual playership, and promoting the issue of equal pay, promoting the issues of women's equality, promoting the issue of women's rights now on a global stage. And they have been great ambassadors for not only the game of soccer, not only the United States, but for all peoples.
Excellent, excellent. Ted?
Let's talk today about, sports and the control of the athletes. It just makes me start thinking about the whole discussion that we always have about the GOAT, right? Talking about, is LeBron the GOAT? Is Mike the GOAT? Again, I think they're both a GOAT during their own times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you think about Michael and how Michael changed the game with shoes, sneakers, right? Endorsements, McDonald's, some of the things that Mike was able to do, and then look at how LeBron is doing some of those things that we're talking about right now. When we all looked at the decision that was made years ago and how we felt about that, whether you were for it or against it, but as Terrell mentioned earlier, how that just changed kind of the landscape of things in a way of how things were going to be moving forward with players and how they were going to kind of take the ball in their own hands.
Mm-hmm.
And so we talk about, again, the GOAT, right? It's more to it than what they do on the basketball court, right?
Right.
It's kind of going into some of the things that Britton talked about of just being able to have an impact on the, kind of the political scene, that whole debate that was going back and forth with, I guess, I can't remember who that news person was that was just saying for LeBron to just, dribble the ball.
Just
right?
shut up and dribble.
Yeah,
right.
shut up
Laura
and dribble.
Ingram.
Right.
Shut up and dribble.
Yeah.
And but if you look at this, I mean, he's doing more than just
That's
dribbling
right.
the ball.
He's dribbling the ball, all right.
Yeah, he's being a major
That's right.
game changer in this, and I think that people, they're looking at this, and people and powers that be are concerned about how that control is happening. So,
That's right.
yeah,
Absolutely. So my closing piece on Around the Horn, it has to do with leverage. And I was reading something here in the work world. There's 6.7 million jobs right now, and there's only 6.4 million workers. So if you're watching us, if you're listening to us, and you're working in a job, you actually have leverage. But here's the key. The key is about your brand, right? We've been talking about branding the whole time, and the athletes have a certain brand. The question you have to ask yourself is, what is your brand? What are you known for? What does everybody know that you're great at? What does everybody know that if you left, that thing you do is going to leave as well? And you have to think of yourself, again, we talked about the Jay-Z quote, you're a business, you have a brand, and if you're in a business, what separates you from the thousands of people that do the same thing that you do? The thousands of IT people, the thousands of real estate people, the thousands of podcasters, the thousands of whatever. Right? So that's really my closing thought, to really take the example of these NBA players. They have a brand. They have leverage. They know they have leverage, and they're using their leverage. Because if you're not using your leverage, someone else may be using their leverage on you, ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
Just something to think about.
Yeah, it's interesting when you talk about the whole leverage thing, and you hear about it mostly in the NBA, but then we look at situations like Le'Veon Bell, right, in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I'm going to sit out a whole season to get what I want and how I want it.
Yeah.
And everybody can say what they want. The fan, just to a point right now, there's, they feel there's no loyalty from the, from the ownership, then, there's no loyalty from that player to the team. It's all about, their business, and they're making business moves.
And so I think about, I know my Around the Horn piece is over, but I took
it back, so you can take it back.
So I think about Russell Wilson with Seattle.
Yeah.
He told the Seahawks, look, you have until Saturday. If I don't have a new contract, I'm not going to play with you. When my deal is done, I'm just going to go and be a free agent. They came up with the money.
Absolutely.
Why? Because he has leverage.
Yeah.
He's won a championship.
That's exactly
He
right.
gives them a chance to win another championship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're competitive with him. Leverage.
It's leverage. Absolutely, I agree. I think that's a great closing. Leverage is key, and I think that's what we've been talking about this entire, podcast. It really comes down to leverage, the opportunity for those to be able to leverage your skill set,
Yes.
leverage your position, and leverage your ability to understand. And then we were talking about leveraging time. Because in the business that we're talking about in sports, time is no doubt, not only is time money, you know, time becomes the one commodity that no athlete can control. And so they have to leverage it to the maximum. You know, when we say that, the time is money, well, they have to leverage it because it's all about diminishing time
Certainly.
for the athlete.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's a great, I think leverage is key.
So you got to let Britton, because we went around the horn. I'm sorry, I took it around the horn again. So Britton, for the second around the horn, you got anything?
Yeah, MLB All-Star Weekend. So pretty exciting time, home run derby. Actually, this is one of the moments. As a millennial, I now feel old because I'm watching players' kids that I used to like. Like, I used to be a huge Vladimir Guerrero fan. And now that I realize that I'm almost 15 years older than his son, who's in the home run derby,
Wow.
is one of those moments where I go, back in my day, that boy's pop could swing that bat.
Yeah, that makes us feel really good, right?
Yeah.
Because if they're, 15 or so years younger than Britain, they're at least 16 years younger than us, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So we're basically the same age as their parents, like the players.
Yeah.
Like you see their parents, they show them they're older. They're like our age.
Oh
It's something to think about.
That's it.
Thank you.
All right. So I always like to end on a high note.
High note. Good job. Thanks a lot, Eric.
That's right.
Appreciate that.
Everybody feels better
Yeah,
now.
we feel better now.
Here on the 30-minute hour.
Straight to the bar, 6 minutes. Thanks.
That's
Straight to
right.
the
No
bar.
problem.
That's right.
So
Thank
again,
you, Terrell.
like I always say, we're not your everyday podcast. We certainly want to thank our guest, Terrell Sheppard.
Thank you for having
Doing an
me.
excellent job of talking about sports and how it relates to business, how it relates to life. Make sure you check his book out. What's the name of your book again?
By faith, live life.
By Faith, Live Life. Again, don't forget you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on YouTube by typing in the 30-minute hour. Keep in mind, we're not your everyday podcast. This concludes this week's episode. Until next time, have a great one.